Have you ever wondered how a company like Facebook or Airbnb goes from just an idea to this global giant seemingly overnight? Well, it's not luck, and it's definitely not your traditional business school playbook. It's a high-stakes, all-or-nothing sprint called blitzscaling.
You know, this line from Glengarry Glen Ross, it just perfectly nails the brutal reality of today's tech markets. See, in the internet age, there really is no prize for second place. Just ask Friendster or MySpace. First prize, the Cadillac, went to Facebook. And pretty much everyone else, they got the steak knives. Or worse, they just vanished.
So that's the big question, right? When you're playing in a game where the winner takes all, how do you make sure you're the one who takes it all? How do you build a company so blindingly fast that you leave your competition just totally in the dust? Well, the answer is a pretty radical and honestly often terrifying strategy called blitzscaling. And this isn't just about growing fast. No, it's a very specific set of tactics for a life or death environment where speed is literally the only thing that matters. Okay, so let's break this down, because this is where it gets really interesting. It's a deliberate choice. You are consciously, willingly choosing to be inefficient. You're choosing to burn through money, to operate in total chaos, all for one single reason: to get huge, fast, and become the undisputed leader before anybody else even knows what's happening. And this, right here, shows you the fundamental trade-off. You know, all the traditional business wisdom tells you to get it right. Measure twice, cut once, all that. Blitzscaling says, nope, no time for that. Just get it done. You're basically trading the safety of a well-run ship for the raw velocity of a rocket that might just blow up. But, and this is a big but, you can't just blitzscale any old idea. The conditions have to be absolutely perfect. So what's the fuel for this rocket? Well, it really boils down to 4 key growth factors. So here they are, the 4 essential ingredients. You need a massive market to even play in, a powerful way to distribute your product, high gross margins to actually fund all this crazy growth, and the real magic ingredient, strong network effects. Let's dig into how Airbnb just completely nailed 2 of the biggest ones: market size and network effects. So when Airbnb was just getting started, investors literally just didn't get it. They saw the market as this tiny little niche for, like, couch surfers. They actually define the market as people who rent out air mattresses, which, as you can imagine, does not sound like a billion-dollar idea. And that's the advice investor Sam Altman gave to Airbnb's co-founder Brian Chesky. Now, he wasn't telling him to lie, he was telling him to reframe the entire vision. See, if Airbnb was really going to change travel, then its market wasn't just air mattresses. It was the entire global hotel and travel industry. You know, an industry you measure in billions with a B. And by reframing their vision to match this massive number, Airbnb finally unlocked the funding and the belief they needed to grow. The lesson here is so clear. If you want to blitzscale, you have to be playing in a market that is just enormous from day one. But a huge market is just the starting line. The real secret to keeping that growth going is network effects. I mean, think about it. Facebook isn't valuable because of its software. It's valuable because all your friends are on it. Or look at WeChat in China. It's like a dozen apps rolled into one, and its value just snowballs with every single new person who joins. The more people use it, the more essential it becomes. Okay, so you've got the right conditions. Now comes the really hard part, actually doing it. Blitzscaling forces you to do things that go against every single instinct you have as a good manager. These are the shocking, uncomfortable, and absolutely critical rules for moving at lightning speed. When LinkedIn first launched, its own founders were worried it was kind of useless without a lot of users. But instead of waiting for perfection, they launched a flawed product just to get that real-world feedback immediately. They cared way more about learning than about looking polished. I know, this sounds like absolute heresy. But in the early days of PayPal, nobody had a fixed job title. Roles were constantly changing, and this internal chaos, what you'd call bad management anywhere else, actually made them incredibly nimble. It let them pivot over and over and basically slalom through a minefield of threats that would have killed a more rigid company. This might be the most radical rule of them all. You have to forget the customer is always right. When you're blitzscaling, speed is your one and only god. That might mean you only offer email support or no support at all. It's a brutal trade-off, for sure, but slowing down to help one customer could mean you lose the entire market. So when you look at all these crazy rules, what's the big idea? It's a huge mindset shift. You are not trying to perfect a well-oiled machine. You're trying to build a system that can adapt and evolve at a dizzying pace. You're optimizing for learning and speed, not for efficiency and stability.
But all this incredible speed, it comes at a cost, a big one. Moving fast means you are going to break things. The real question is, can you actually survive the wreckage you leave behind? Let's get into the very real dangers of this strategy. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg himself admitted that Facebook's famous motto, move fast and break things, eventually started to slow them down. All the mess they created by moving too fast, what engineers call technical debt, it got so big that it became a bigger obstacle than their competition was. And the risks are just enormous. You can burn through all your cash. Your team can burn out from the constant chaos. You can fail in public, like Twitter did with its infamous fail whale. You can alienate all your early customers. And you can face what's called the ship of Theseus problem, where you hire so fast that by the end of the year, none of the original culture is even left. And this all leads to the final and maybe the most important point of all. If you actually succeed, if you win, you are no longer the scrappy challenger. You're the incumbent. You've become a foundational piece of the economy, of society. All those roles you ignored on the way up, they are now your responsibility to uphold. And all those problems you said you'd fix later, well, later has arrived.
Look, there's no denying it. Blitzscaling is one of the most powerful forces for creating value in the world today. It builds empires, it shapes our future, but it also leaves us with this huge, lingering question. When you have the power to reshape the world at lightning speed, what do you actually owe that world in return? Drop your answer and count it.